All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming today to chat about your experience at the symposium. Before we get started, I wanted to make just a couple of quick announcements. Recordings, documents, and photos are now available from the symposium event, so please check that out. I will drop the link in the chat here. And there are links at the top of that page for like each day, so have a look at those when you get a second. The Washington Gleaning Network is just kind of beginning to get on its feet. We're transitioning from AGO support and guidance to being kind of a member-led, community-supported group. So that's really exciting. To that end, we are actively putting together our advisory committee, which is made up of a diverse group of organizations throughout the state, which will help guide the network in support of the local gleaning movement. So you may have seen that application in your email, but I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat as well. So please have a look. There are details on the form. And we'll be announcing in August those members for this first session. So another thing, during the harvest season, we've got a bunch of gleans planned throughout the state. So we can bring that food back to our communities. There's blueberries in July in Woodinville. We're tentatively planning a farm glean in Snohomish with tomatoes and cucumbers coming up in August. A big tomato glean in September in Leavenworth, apples in October. We're always keeping an ear to the ground for opportunities like this, especially ones that are located kind of outside our backyard here in the Seattle area to really get that diversity throughout the state. So if you come across anything, please share it with us. It's such a wonderful opportunity to get our hands in the dirt and bring gleaners throughout the state together. There will be invites coming your way on those too. And very last thing to announce, we will continue to regularly engage you all with news and resources and training. Over the next several months, we've managed to secure some really interesting speakers to chat with us on important gleaning topics like safety in the field, food safety, gleaning from farmers markets, and the farmer's point of view. We're piloting kind of a new format where we'll be bringing someone in to chat for about 20 minutes or so, and then open the floor to a Q&A and kind of open discussion, because we really are here to talk to each other, to learn from each other. So this will be interesting to see how that goes. You should have all gotten calendar invites to these, but keep an eye on your inbox, and our newsletter will be coming your way shortly with those links as well. So, all right, today is kind of an open format discussion. It's going to be a chance for everyone to share their experiences from AGO's 2024 Gleaning Symposium in Seattle. I think there were almost 200 people at the event, including those who joined online. So it was, I heard it was the largest event AGO has ever done to date, with so much information. You literally could not go to every presentation because they were stacked on top of each other. So we wanted to come back and share and not only give ourselves a chance to recall that event, but also share our takeaways and give you a chance to see how your experience at the symposium may have differed from others. And then, of course, we're recording this and we want to share our takeaway with folks who weren't able to make it to the symposium at all. So thank you so much for coming today to do that. Time really does fly by. This meeting was early in May, and I know I, for one, have a goldfish memory. So let's just start with a little discussion to kind of get our juices going. I figure maybe we can start by kind of popcorning around the room and see if we can answer what was your favorite part of the symposium? So like, what was fun? Did you meet new people? Did anything surprise you? And so on. I will go ahead and start. If I can pick on you, I'll start with Faith. And then you can feel free to raise your hand, or Faith can popcorn it to the next person and just kind of talk about what you thought was fun. We'll just get started with that.
I just thought it was fun meeting people. There was a lot of people that I have met only this way. So it was fun to meet people in person, and there was just a lot of information and a lot of I learned a lot through conversations and stuff with people. So that was my favorite part.
Awesome. You want to popcorn it to someone, or anyone that wants to be the first and bravest can feel free to pop in.
Yeah, I just got on here, so hey guys. I'm sorry, I was a little late. It was really nice to meet all of you in my first year gleaning. I mean, all of it was super awesome. All the information was awesome. Seeing everyone's PowerPoints and all the different classes we had to offer was just a huge wealth of knowledge across the board, and like meeting Faith and being able to see what I want to do in the long term, which is have a farm specifically for food pantries, which I didn't know was if it was possible or not. Being able to see PowerPoints from those connections specifically was really empowering, very insightful, and it was really helpful to see blueprints of things that we might not see as possible or that we feel like we have to start from the ground up and realize that there's already people doing this in their own capacity and maybe a little different than what I would have imagined, but like it's incredible to see that and be able to see it in motion. And yeah, just super inspiring. And a lot of great topics and sustainable ways of living, and to also like introspect on the gleaning program itself and how we can improve going forward. So that was my takeaway.
Share next. I also really loved meeting people in person. It was particularly great to meet the folks from other parts of Washington outside of Seattle that I'd been able to see in person. And I also really liked I feel like I learned a lot of smaller tips and tricks, like the small variations between, like, even if folks are having pretty similar programs, everybody has their own different workarounds, different ways that they make their programs shine the brightest. So it was really cool to learn all sorts of the different things that folks do to work around barriers that we often see here.
Can go next. Hi everyone, I'm Olivia. I don't typically join these meetings, but wanted to talk about the Gleaning Symposium, so happy to join you all. Um, yeah, gleaning is more tangential to the work that I do. I work for Harvest Against Hunger and do focus on purchasing programs. So it was really great just to like learn a like deep dive into gleaning for 2 days. Yeah, I took away so many things that I didn't know before, and I feel like they've all just been like festering in my brain and um, trying to think through of like how to apply what I've learned to the work that I do. And then just to second what everybody else has said is meeting people in person was super valuable and um, yeah, so people I see like multiple times a month on the Zoom screen, but had never met in person. So that was really valuable.
I'll go. I just want to say that I left the Gleaning Symposium and it brought a lot of energy into the work that I do. It brought a lot of new ideas, new connections. It was really awesome to be able to connect with people that are passionate about the same things that you are. In my like just friend circle outside of work, a lot of my friends are kind of like don't really know what I'm talking about a lot of the time, or don't share the same passions that I have. So it was really cool to have that connection with people.
I can go next. So, as one of the few virtual attendees, it was pretty great to still feel and see the energy and the enthusiasm behind all the different sessions. Um, Being part of a food pantry, and seeing like the mapping that's happening in other parts of the country and the resources that are available in Washington State. I mean, it was all really powerful and it's inspiring. It gives hope in terms of what we can do here where I work at HopeLink in terms of developing a harvest program. And I hope that the same way afforded to everyone in person to be able to connect and network, I hope that, you know, if virtual has to be an option for some of us, that that's something that we can also work to strengthen moving forward, because there are some times where it was really hard to feel part of the groups.
I can go next. I'm Maria Mendes Francisco, also with Harvest Against Hunger, and kind of similar to Olivia, don't really do a lot with gleaning. But it was kind of nice seeing everyone that has been through the Harvest Vista program, people we've talked to that's been a part of the program, even in the past. But also, you know, just learning a deeper dive into gleaning and seeing like what other organizations do in the state of Washington and outside of that as well. And I also really like those evening events. That was different this time than I think I went to one 2 years ago. So it was nice kind of having that time to outside of like just during the gleaning symposium, to have that time outside of that and just talking with other individuals.
I really appreciate you guys' perspective. It's so awesome that there are so many different kinds of folks. Like, it's not just people only out gleaning in the field. It's not just people only doing food rescue. There's so much like different aspects of this. That's just lovely to hear your feedback on that. So for those who just kind of joined recently, we're just kind of popcorning around. We're talking about like what our favorite part of the symposium was, or like what kind of inspired us, and just kind of breaking the ice on that. I mean, like it's been a while, so it's been a couple of months now, and just starting to think it through. So feel free to pop up if you have, if you want to add in. Um, and I just wanted to, you know, get that discussion going today, because that's really what this meeting is about. Just all of us talking about what we experienced. I guess one thing we could also share is like what kind of we learned, anything that we learned from there. Like if we went to a certain talk or meeting, and you're now thinking like, I would like our organization to do this too. Like they don't have to be set in stone plans, but maybe just ideas you want to start exploring. So I'll give you an example. I can go first. So I was unable to make the symposium, unfortunately, but I did comb through the recordings, and one thing I heard a lot about was empowering volunteers at Gleans, and that was really inspiring to me, to kind of feel like they're part of the whole as hunger relief, not just doing like isolated events. So that could look like just something as simple as their abilities to know like where the food goes after it gleans, or if it gets processed into something else, or something beyond just food banks, like educational moments as part of the programming, or it could look like engaging volunteers with seasonal events like a potluck or picnic. And I know a lot of you guys do that kind of stuff. Even if there isn't a lot of gleaning going on, or it's the off season, something with a kind of a relatively low lift that can engage volunteers and help that retention really keeps things interesting. And one other thing I hadn't really thought of, but that I heard, was that sometimes these volunteer incentives can be written into grants that support gleaning efforts. And I thought that was a really interesting idea to kind of make that more doable and more sustainable. So I love that idea. Anyone else want to like pop in and let us know something that you learned from the event?
I found it fascinating learning about food loss versus food waste. That was pretty cool. And so that's like impacted possible like looking for grants, you know, in terms of compensating farmers for the food we glean. Also,
So as far as like food loss versus food waste, can you kind of define a bit more what you mean by that? Just
sure.
for
So yeah, it was really interesting to find out. I think it was a presentation was it the Department of Agriculture? I'm not positive on that. Don't quote me on that. But it was talking about how much food just is left in the field because farmers don't want to spend the time or labor to harvest that. And so they were capturing data for the farmers to basically give them incentive to harvest that crop or give them new information on what they should plant next year. Or like basically like it would give them data like 60% of this this section that you've not harvested is actually market quality produce. So that was interesting. So instead of having it tilled under, like giving farmers tools to be able to say, like, I could have gleaners come out and do this, or I could spend the time to have, pay my workers to be able to go harvest that field. And I think that there's like food waste is a really big, thing that everyone talks about, but I think that food loss is something that needs to be paid attention to with just as much energy.
Well said. Was that the let's see, measuring on
Yes,
farm harvest potential?
yes,
I think that
yes,
was from the Friday talk,
yes,
and it was Lisa Johnson and Lynette Johnson, Tom O'Donnell over Zoom. That was great.
yes.
So I will, you know what, I'm gonna, since some folks have joined again, I'll drop this link in the chat again,
Sure.
just so everyone has it. But there is all the recordings and stuff are available now from the symposium, and there's a website there. So anyone can check those things out. Awesome. Thank you, Ursula, so much for sharing. Anyone else have anything they want to share that they learned?
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway as well. And it was, yeah, it was Lisa K. Johnson who got a PhD in this, and she actually reported it or got the funding or something from the Department of Ecology. And then she did the database for lost harvest and provided the data back to growers. I know she did a big one with cucumbers. What I have in my notes is finding opportunity in the field, estimating losses to improve yield, as well as one for sweet potatoes. She has a YouTube video as well on that. But her website is www.lisakjohnson.com. And I guess she has all the PowerPoints on her website for the end of harvest potential protocol as a PowerPoint. Anything that's marketable or unedible, unfit. And then there's like 3 categories of that, which is the marketable, edible, unfit for vegetable harvesting, which results in food loss. So that was my biggest takeaway too, was just the data that she provided to us and like helped farmers with, and also gave us a really good like bullet point list on if we wanted to also provide that information for our local farmers of how to maximize their productivity so they don't have as much loss. Yeah, I thought that was super helpful. So thanks for bringing that up, because that's what inspired me the most about the gleaning, was how to help farmers give back in the food data, because that's why we're all here. It's because there's obviously a problem that needs to be met. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And I did find that link that you just mentioned, and I dropped it in the chat as well, lisakjohnson.com. So very interesting. Amazing.
Something that really stuck with me from that presentation too was that she said, without like measuring food waste and on-farm harvest potential, it's hard to know how much is even out there for us to glean. And I feel like that's really a really important takeaway in terms of like justifying the meaning of gleaning and like to funders and whoever.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it's definitely, I hear all the time, like, where can we find gleans? Like, where can we take produce? Like, there's so much so little data out there that like actually measures and tracks like what's going on. That's huge. Thank you for sharing.
I really enjoyed the class about story mapping and like thinking of different ways to tell your story. I feel like pictures help. Written word, people read a quarter of it, but like having an interactive map or just a visual of the actual impact of what you're doing, and just thinking about different ways to tell the story. I feel like I tell the same story over and over and over again. So how can I um, change it up so that different people will see different things or that will attract different people? And so we've taken that, some of the information from that class, and I think this winter, once actual cleaning work dies down and farm work dies down, we're going to be doing some fun different interactive mapping all of our different deliveries and all the different organizations we work with and all the different things, so that they kind of see a different way of um, showing just how big our organization is and where we're all at. So
Thanks, Faith. I love that. And I think I know I may be speaking for everyone, but it was so interesting to hear about like how that works for you guys once y'all get that rolling, like what software you use and how you set all that stuff up. That sounds amazing. I just dropped in a link to, I believe the talk you were talking about was visualize your local network with story mapping. And there's like the YouTube link there too. But again, it's on that list from AGO's recordings and stuff. Awesome. Anyone else? What tell us something that you learned.
I really enjoyed the story mapping presentation as well. I actually didn't get to go. I was at the other track when that one was happening, but I've watched it since then, and it's something we've been wanting to do for our farm to community program for a while. So it was really helpful to like actually see it and visualize it, because I think I had like a certain idea of it in my head, but to see somebody like execute it and have like add things that I didn't even think of to include in there was just, I don't know, it like gave me a lot of momentum to try to do that for our programs. So yeah, just super helpful to see somebody else do it and do it really well.
Do you guys remember what the like app or software or whatever that they were using? Was it the GIS software or do you remember?
I think it was ArcGIS.
I just wanted to grab that link for folks to like, whoops, to check out. Here we go. Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Keep it going. What do you guys learn from the symposium? And or what was your favorite part? Anything you want to share with folks, especially those who were unable to make it and unable to see the same ones that you did?
Hi, this is Mackenzie from Thurston County Food Bank. I had such a great time learning from everyone, but I also really like the story mapping and the farmers market glean folks and from LA that shared. I think they had a lot of really great tools to share. They have such an extensive program there, so it was really cool to hear about how they do their farmers market gleans and gave me ideas for how we could do it here in Olympia. Oh, and then the tree print, the gleaning organization, City Fruit in Seattle, that offers tree services, as well as Pierce County Harvest, also, or Harvest Pierce County also offers tree services, and that was actually a way they brought funding in, but also helps like maintain the trees that they're gleaning fruit from. And I thought that was a really great idea for bringing in money and also just like helping for a better fruit harvest.
Great. I think that was, I caught one of those, the how to farmers market recovery, the ins and outs of farmers market cleaning. That one was really cool. And we are going to have in July here coming up, we'll have the folks from Seattle Farmers Markets come in and share to us in general about farmers market gleaning. So that's going to be a great topic to continue our conversations on. Thank you for sharing that.
I really like the keynote address. That was one of my favorite parts of the symposium. How Dr. Yolanas, right? Dr.
Yeah,
Sipos.
yeah. Dr. Sipos from UW, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Sipos, she talked about food as a unifier, how it brings together different cultures, communities, and that really, made me think of gleaning as it's also a unifier, brings people together. You glean, you take foods to different food banks, different hunger relief organizations. So it parallels what the keynote speaker said about food being a unifier.
Thanks for sharing. I love Dr. Sipos. Was pretty incredible. I think she's been teaching at like UW in the food systems program for like a few years now, as far as I understand. And that was a wonderful address. Yeah, thanks for sharing that one. Pop that into the chat as well.
I'll go, Sarah. I'm down here. I'm sorry. Just came out of another meeting, and I really apologize for being late to this one. But anyway, what I was struck by, in the whole build up to it, and Sarah, you experienced all of this, was the diversity of all of the different programs that were there. And that was really interesting because, we know that Washington State is unique in terms of sort of how geography in the state affects both population, but also agriculture and the type of agriculture. So those, smaller East Coast states, they don't necessarily have these kind of dissimilar agricultural areas like we do. But what I really appreciate was just how different people's approaches were and their willingness to share their best practices. So I'm one of the things that excites me about the formation of the Washington Gleaning Network is that we do have lots of different organizations right here in Washington where we're going to be able to share that information. But we are also, thanks to the fact that Sarah, you've been working so closely with AGO, that we have a really easy and straightforward pipeline to connect with all of those other organizations. I'm really excited by that.
Yeah, agreed. It's just wonderful that we have such a diversity and that we're able to start to harness that. It's such an exciting place to be. Hey, David, since you popped in, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your experience. So I know we had an in-person meeting I believe it was the morning of that Wednesday, and there were some small groups. There was a lot of different activities, and it was kind of a great meeting. And I think there was some conversation that came out of that. That where folks kind of broke into smaller groups and started discussing different topics like how like supporting gleaner experience or the potential structure of the advisory committee, coordinating membership and media strategy. And I'm not sure if everyone was there that is able to be here today, but David, did you have any like kind of feedback from that experience, or was there anything you guys talked about that y'all might want to share out with everyone who wasn't maybe able to be there?
Sure. So I think Faith was in the same group as I was, and we were looking at what does the potential structure look like moving forward for the Washington Gleaning Network, and that's where we started to think about what is an advisory committee or advisory group. We're still working on what that name is going to be. Sarah, you and I have talked about this at some length, and that's why we have those applications that went out so that we can start to form that body so that then they're able to capture the momentum and move this forward. But you know, what's important, what we felt was really important about this was, one, to have really good, diverse representation of both organizations by size, organizations by geographic region, and sort of the focus of the work that they're doing. And we also, so what, as we were talking about it, the notion was ultimately what we would like to have, and it's going to be really challenging to get this right out of the gate, but probably breaking Washington State into what WSDA uses as 6 basic geographic regions, where we have a representative from each, kind of borrowing a little bit from Washington Food Coalition's, the construct there, but also having 3 at-large members, where, you know, if there's a certain skill set or a certain type of organization that we want to make sure is represented, we have a way to do that if they already have somebody from their geographic area. And then we also felt that it was really important to make room for at least one tribal member or one person who can represent tribal organizations or have, you know, help to lift up the voice of tribal organizations, especially as we're trying, through the gleaning work that we're doing, trying to think about what is food sovereignty? How are we incorporating that into our work? I mean, we're looking at that for everything that we do, whether it's the VISTA program here or our farm to community program work. But I also think being deliberate about that right from the beginning, we felt, our group felt that that was a really important thing for us to do. Faith, did you have any, am I missing anything? I feel like I took some pretty slim notes, but Faith, you had a couple of things that I thought were really interesting as well.
Yeah, I think you covered most of it pretty well. We were just talking a lot about making sure that the group was a diverse group and that they had knowledge in different areas and stuff, that it wasn't all the same people that think the same, because I think it's good to have various opinions because not everybody thinks the same in this industry we work in. And so we were, yeah, definitely, I think you covered most of it. Yeah, and just thinking about how do we get people involved and move through this organization.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, guys. And I did get, I believe Miranda was one of the leaders, and I did manage to get her notes, but I think she was unable to make it today. She was talking about in a group on membership and coordination, and this is more like large scale membership, not just like the advisory committee, but like everybody, talking about like diversity of membership as well, not just geographical, but also including gleaners and farmers and distributors, and that way to kind of define membership in the gleaning network is kind of engagement with meetings as well as utilizing and contributing resources to the group. So just kind of being active part of it. And yeah, I think that theme of diversity seems to be like a big one we're capturing throughout this whole thing, not just with the symposium, but with the smaller groups. I just keep hearing that coming up. And I think that's a beautiful sign that we're on the right path, I think. So I'm really excited to hear you guys talking all about that. And yeah, I would love to hear if anyone would like to, who hasn't had a chance to speak up, just kind of like talk about how the symposium or how like these conversations and what's come out of it has kind of made you think about your gleaning community, like you know, making new connections or renewed connections or meeting people from unexpected places and that kind of thing. I would love to hear if you guys have kind of thought about things in a different way after all of that.
Hey, Sarah, was anybody at the other 2 breakout groups? I think one was on communication and the other, I don't recall exactly what the other one was. Maybe it was like the logistics, the hard logistics side of it, resource sharing.
Yeah, I don't think that they were able to make it today, and I did not get notes from them on that. So and I didn't see a recording, so I don't really have anything that I can like firsthand share out on that.
No, I was wondering if anybody sitting here was in
Yeah.
one of those breakouts. Maria or Olivia, did you sit in on any of those? No.
I
So I
did,
might
but I
have
don't recall what group it was. Sorry, Sarah.
Who was leading it? Was it?
It was Stacy that led it and she took notes.
Yeah, that was communications and like talking about messaging. Is that right?
Sounds about right.
Okay. Yeah, so hopefully we can get Stacy's notes because I think that's something that she was pretty excited about leading.
Yeah, maybe she'll be able to pop in at the next meeting and share about that because I know she's really passionate about that topic and they probably had some really awesome things to say.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyone else want to like share about your experience and about something new you learned or something inspiring, or just how it kind of changed the way you thought about gleaning or your work?
I just had a great time talking with so many gleaners and people that had similar value systems as me and like cared so much about rescuing food and growing food and local food. It just, yeah, for me it felt like very like nourishing and reinvigorating to do the work.
Yeah, I wish that actually, yeah, Mackenzie, one of the things that I think what we've been talking about, Sarah, is how do we do something similar for Washington State Gleaning, our group that we're bringing together? Because those in-person meetings, I mean, these Zoom meetings are wonderful for sharing ideas, but the in-person meetings really, I think, help to make space for those conversations that are not necessarily so structured, but are really interesting and important. So what can we, Harvest Against Hunger and others do to try to create that space wherever it's going to be, whether it's at the Washington Food Coalition meeting, or maybe it's something that we actually try to pull together annually here in Seattle or somewhere else. So, but the value of those kind of offline conversations is really important.
Yeah, I felt like, yeah, there was just so much substance, just like, and yeah, when having dinner with people or eating with people. And I was just really surprised at how, and I maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, but there was just so many great conversations that came up that way. So, yeah, I like, well, are we going to do the blueberry glean? Is that happening this summer?
Yeah, there's a blueberry glean with 21 acres who's in Woodinville, and we're getting the details together at this moment. So you guys will be hearing an announcement about that here shortly. But lots of great stuff coming up. And I love that, guys, like, you know, having folks actually come together and speak in person. There's something so different about that than just doing it like over Zoom. And there's so many other like inspirations and details and stuff that you pick up. And so I think that sounds like something that folks would be really interested in doing, if I'm hearing that right, to like come together maybe at, like you said, David, maybe one of the like local conferences, or even having like an annual or seasonal thing where we start to get together. I know we're a big state, but how wonderful is it for us to get together if we can? So is that something you guys would be interested in doing? Awesome. I see a lot of nods and stuff. Great. Cool. Yeah, we will start to put that into the works and figure out what we can do on that. And that might actually be part of one of the potentially first tasks for the advisory committee to start putting together like engagement like that. But we'll definitely keep you posted on how that develops. And if anyone has any ideas or suggestions, we're always open to that as well. So please do share.
Hey, Sarah, just as a really quick thought, and sorry, I'll shut up so other people can talk. We might want to just send a poll out or some way to get some information about who's going to be at the Washington Food Coalition Conference in September. I suspect that there's going to be a sizable overlap. I don't know that everybody's going to be there, but we might just find out who from the Gleaning Group is going to be there. If we've got 20, 25 people there, we might want to take the time to try to get a session together just with the Gleaning Group at the Food Coalition. Harvest Against Hunger, they've asked us to put together foods and farm track. So we could certainly incorporate something into gleaning there as well. But anyway, so maybe we just find out who's going to be at that from this group. And then if there's a large enough body, we maybe try to get together somewhere.
Love that. Awesome. Thanks for that idea, David. We will send something like that out to you guys. Be amazing.
Yeah, and I also, just as a side note, like really enjoyed going to the Beacon Food Forest. That was really incredible to see that in person. And especially seeing the medicine wheel that was implemented as far as like Native American history, where they had like bitter melon and native plants and yeah, just a real like because I mean I live in Leavenworth and Seattle's not too far, and I didn't realize how often they were getting together and all their community activities that they have and all the families that like consistently and religiously go to those plots and use it. Because community gardens are also a fun, always a fun concept, but sometimes they can be forgotten or people will just stop going to them or it's a hype in the beginning, but to see something so implemented for such a long stand was really inspiring. And then to see like City Fruit in person and talk to them, like that program was incredible. So thanks for organizing this. And yeah,
Amazing. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I've like I said, I was not able to go to the conference, but I have been to the Beacon Food Forest, and it's just such a cool project, and I love that that's happening here. And I love like that everything that it stands for. And so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, I think you guys also did what were some of the other activities you guys did? Like a kind of um I think there was like a veggie race or something. Like, did you guys go to that?
There's always a veggie race at the Ago conference. Yeah, that was at the brewery. That was fun.
Yeah.
Did y'all made
As
like
a
race
winner.
cars out of zucchini? Sorry.
I don't say I have the trophy, so it was great.
What? You got the trophy? Congratulations.
Nice
Amazing.
fire, Faith.
She's got the veggie racing
Jeez.
skills.
It was hilarious, but no one else could race with us. We took up like 2 or 3 of the tracks, but we won. I mean, yeah, it was a 5-lane thing, and we took up 3 of them. So
Wow. Awesome. Dominating. So cool. Wow. Amazing. Yeah, so this is awesome. I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time today either. And we're kind of working on this new format of meetings where we're kind of opening things to discussion, just sort of like throwing something out there and like letting, folks kind of chime in and talk about their thoughts and their experience and what's going on currently. So they're gonna end up being a little bit maybe shorter depending on how the conversation ends up going. We were thinking maybe 45 minutes instead of an hour if that works for everybody. But again, like totally open to being flexible if like the conversation is going strong and you just have things to talk about. So I did want to like at least give you guys an opportunity to chat about stuff, but also like respect your time and stuff too. And I really, 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 really appreciate you guys coming and sharing your experience with each other and with folks who aren't able to attend. So is there anything that anyone else who hasn't had a chance to pipe in, like feel free to add something in or to share any thoughts that they haven't had a chance to yet? It's definitely a good chance to do that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leanne Barron from Skagit Gleaners, and I am very new in my role, so I was not able to attend the conference, but I am super energized by hearing all the different sessions, and I'm going to go back and check those out. I just want to say thank you for organizing this, and it's been fun to kind of meet everybody.
Awesome. Welcome so much. Awesome. Thank you. And it's so good getting to see new faces. I feel like there's always like almost always at least like one new face or two at these things, and that's really exciting. I love that this is an evolving thing. Great. Is there
Hey.
anything? Sorry, go ahead, David.
Just before we wrap up, I am more than happy to share a brief video of the winning vegetable car race.
Yes, please. Wait, I'll make you a host so you can do that.
I think I've got it. I think I can share
Okay.
it.
Wow, look at it go. Oh my gosh, you guys. Those are some elaborate veggie cars too. Wow.
Yeah, people were having a terrible time. Nobody was having any fun at all. Thanks
Oh,
for
that's
indulging.
amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I might ask if you can send me the link to that so I can share it with everyone in our newsletter, because that was epic.
Oh, I've got more. Oh yeah. I'll send these to you.
Amazing. Awesome. All right. Well, great. Well, thank you guys again for attending. It's really awesome as usual to get to chat with everyone. Please keep an eye on your email for our upcoming newsletter, and have an amazing weekend. Enjoy the sun. Hope it's getting sunny where you are as well.
Right. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you guys so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye all.